we're going to be exploring excerpts from this ebook, Friends Foundation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's a practical guide to building and maintaining those meaningful connections.
Okay.
Covers everything from like first impressions to navigating the digital world.
It's interesting, how much emphasis we put on like consciously building friendships these days. It's like we've realized it's a skill.
Totally.
Like leadership or communication.
Absolutely. And this ebook like dives right into the nitty-gritty, starting with those first impressions.
Right.
It stresses that classic advice.
Yeah.
Smile, be well-groomed, make eye contact.
Yeah.
But what I found really fascinating is how the book connects this to the halo effect.
Yeah, the halo effect's super powerful.
Right.
Think about it, like if you're well-groomed and you're presenting yourself positively, people might think you're more intelligent or trustworthy.
Wow.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Our brains are constantly like looking for shortcuts to assess people. And those initial visual cues, they really play a big role.
That's so interesting. But isn't that kind of manipulative, though? Like, how do we balance, putting our best foot forward with being authentic?
Right.
Because genuine connection should be built on honesty, not just some like polished facade.
Yeah, for sure. I think authenticity has to be like the foundation.
Yeah.
It's not about, creating this fake persona, but like presenting yourself in a way that aligns with who you are and the kind of connections you want.
Okay.
It's like highlighting your best qualities.
Got it.
The things that make you you.
Okay, so if I'm trying to connect with fellow like nature enthusiasts,
Yeah.
maybe I'll skip the high heels
Exactly.
and opt for hiking boots.
Yeah. And there's actually some recent research that suggests that like mirroring someone's smile can build trust faster
Really?
than just smiling yourself.
Wow.
It's a subtle way to signal you're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
You'll see like, good negotiators and communicators using that.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay attention to that
Yeah.
in my own interactions.
For sure.
Okay, so we've tackled those first impressions.
Great.
But then the book shifts gears and dives into something I found kind of paradoxical. This whole idea of deepening friendships and creating new ones online.
It is kind of a modern day conundrum, isn't it?
Right.
Like, we crave authentic connection,
Yeah.
but so much of our lives happens in the digital world.
Exactly. And the book even starts with that "no man is an island" quote,
Right.
highlighting, the importance of human connection.
Yeah.
But then it dedicates a whole chapter to like forging those bonds online.
Yeah.
How do we reconcile these like seemingly conflicting ideas?
I think it comes down to recognizing that online interaction isn't a replacement for like face-to-face connection.
Okay.
It's more like another avenue, another tool in our like friendship toolkit.
Gotcha.
It lets us connect with like-minded people we might not ever meet in person to bridge those geographical distances. And even to explore parts of ourselves we might not, feel comfortable sharing in person.
Right. And that's where the book's discussion of online disinhibition comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This whole idea that we feel freer to express ourselves online.
Yeah, for better or for worse, right?
Yeah.
The absence of those nonverbal cues, like facial expressions, body language, can lead to like deeper connection, but also like greater misunderstanding.
Right. It's a double-edged sword.
Totally.
I've definitely experienced both sides of that. I once had this heated debate on a forum about, wait for it, the best type of cheese.
Oh, wow.
We got surprisingly intense.
Really?
But it proves the book's point about how emotions can escalate online.
Yeah, and on the other hand, online communities can be incredible sources of support.
Right.
Especially for people who feel marginalized or isolated. They provide a sense of belonging and shared experience.
Yeah.
Think of like online support groups for people with rare illnesses or people who share, really niche hobbies.
It's a way to connect with people who get you.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you are.
That makes sense. The book mentions social media blogs, even YouTube, as potential avenues for forming those connections.
Yeah, the possibilities are really endless.
Right.
You can find communities for almost anything you can think of.
Yeah.
From like antique typewriter enthusiasts to competitive origami folders.
That's crazy.
This access to diverse perspectives and shared interests.
Yeah.
It's something we didn't really have before.
That's true. But the book does caution against relying only on online interaction.
Yeah.
It stresses that it's often like a starting point.
Right.
A way to build rapport, But to really solidify those bonds, we need that face-to-face interaction.
Absolutely. It's in those shared experiences.
Yeah.
You know, those moments of laughter and vulnerability in person.
Right.
That friendship really flourishes.
So how do we bridge that gap then?
Oh.
How do we take those online connections and transition them into like real-world friendships? Well, for one thing, there are tons of online groups that organize meetups and events.
Oh,
It's a way to connect with local members.
Okay.
And move those interactions into a shared space.
Uh-huh. But even beyond like organized events,
Yeah.
simply being open to connecting with people in our everyday lives can make a big difference.
Totally.
You mean like striking up a conversation with the person next to you at the coffee shop?
Exactly.
Or like a fellow dog walker at the park?
Yeah. And this brings us back to those first impressions and nonverbal cues we talked about.
Right.
A genuine smile, a warm greeting, a willingness to engage.
Yeah.
Those are the building blocks of connection.
Regardless of whether it started online or offline.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored the importance of first impressions, both online and off.
Right.
And the different paths to like expanding our social circles.
Yeah.
But what happens once we've made those initial connections? How do we nurture those like fledgling friendships and make sure they grow into something meaningful?
That's where the book gets into some really practical advice on strengthening bonds and navigating like social dynamics.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, that's something I'm really excited to dive into.
Me too.
Yeah.
This conversation has already given me so much to think about. And for you listening, we'll be right back to delve even deeper into the art of building those lasting friendships.
So we talked about those initial sparks of connection.
Right.
But, you know, as anyone who's ever had a friend knows, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
How do we move beyond those like casual acquaintances and build those like truly meaningful, lasting friendships?
It's so interesting how the book like approaches this.
Okay.
It goes beyond, you know, just surface level advice.
Yeah.
And it digs into the psychology of friendship.
Okay.
One key concept it talks about is reciprocity.
Reciprocity. That makes me think of like economics class.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with friendship?
Right. It is an economic principle.
Uh-huh.
But it applies really well to relationships too.
Basically, it's about the balance of giving and receiving.
Gotcha.
Friendships thrive when both people feel seen, valued, and supported.
So it's not about like keeping score or anything?
No, not at all.
But making sure there's a mutual exchange of like energy and support.
Yeah, exactly. It's those small, consistent actions that show you care.
Okay.
Like remembering a friend's birthday, offering a listening ear when they're going through something tough.
Yeah.
Or even just sending a quick text to say thinking of you.
Oh, for sure. Those little gestures go a long way.
Right.
Like I always feel appreciated when a friend remembers something I mentioned.
Totally.
And checks in on me.
And that feeling of being seen and valued, that's what keeps the cycle of reciprocity going.
Makes sense.
It motivates us to do the same for our friends. You know, to be there for them the way they've been there for us.
Right.
It creates this positive feedback loop that makes the bond stronger over time.
It's like that saying, the best way to have a friend is to be a friend.
Exactly. And the book really drives that point home.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just want good friends.
Right.
We have to actually be good friends ourselves.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
This makes me think about another challenge the book addresses.
Okay.
Navigating those situations where negativity or drama can like creep in.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Right.
Stuck listening to a friend vent about the same problem over and over.
Yeah.
Or feeling pressured to take sides in a conflict.
It's so uncomfortable. It's tricky, right?
It is.
You want to support your friend,
yeah,
but you don't want to drown in negativity.
Right.
Or like compromise your own well-being.
Totally.
That's where I struggle sometimes.
I do. I want to be there for them.
Yeah.
But I also have to protect my own, you know, emotional health.
For sure. So how do we find that balance?
Yeah. How do we?
The book talks about social intelligence.
Okay.
Being perceptive.
Right.
Understanding social dynamics. And knowing how to steer conversations in a more positive direction. It sounds like a real art form.
It kind of is.
Any tips on how to actually do that?
Well, it's not about shutting down the conversation or dismissing your friend's feelings.
Yeah.
It's more about acknowledging their emotions and then gently shifting the focus.
Like how?
You could say something like, wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating, but hey, tell me something good that happened this week.
Oh, I see. So like validating their feelings, but redirecting to something positive.
Exactly. And sometimes just listening is enough. Let your friend vent, be a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
But don't get sucked into the drama.
Right.
Or offer unsolicited advice.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what if the negativity just keeps coming?
Right. Well, then setting boundaries is important.
Okay.
You can always say something like, I care about you and want to be there for you, but I need to protect my own energy right now.
That's a good one.
True friends will understand that.
They should.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that shared experiences are important for building those strong bonds. That seems especially relevant now,
Totally.
since we're talking about navigating those tough times together.
It's in those shared moments, the good and the bad,
Right.
that friendships are really tested and strengthened.
Going through something difficult with a friend by your side,
Yeah.
it creates a connection that's hard to find anywhere else. You know what else the book mentioned?
What's that?
The power of novel experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Trying new things together, stepping outside our comfort zones.
Right.
Apparently that can be really bonding.
I've definitely found that to be true.
Yeah.
It's like those shared moments of vulnerability and excitement.
Yeah.
They create this sense of camaraderie and shared history.
Oh, this is interesting. Research shows that couples who try new things together report higher relationship satisfaction.
Wow.
It seems like that applies to friendships too.
That makes sense. Think about it when you do something new and maybe a little scary with a friend. You're creating a memory, a story that becomes part of your bond.
And you're building trust.
Exactly.
You're showing each other you can depend on one another.
Yeah.
That you're willing to push yourselves together.
It's a good reminder that friendship isn't just about passively enjoying each other's company.
Right.
It's about actively investing in the relationship.
Yeah.
Creating those shared experiences that deepen the connection.
This is giving me so much to think about in terms of my own friendships.
Me too.
We've talked about reciprocity,
right?
Navigating negativity, and the power of shared experiences.
Yeah.
Is there anything else the book highlights when it comes to like nurturing those close bonds?
One thing that really stuck with me was its focus on communication.
Okay.
But not just any communication.
What kind then?
It's about really listening.
Oh.
Being present and attentive when our friends are talking.
I think that's something we could all be better at.
For sure.
You know, in our busy world.
Yeah.
It's easy to get distracted. To half listen while scrolling through our phones. Ugh, I hate when people do that.
It's so common though.
It is. But the book argues that giving our undivided attention is one of the most powerful gifts we can give.
Totally. It's like saying, you matter. Your thoughts and feelings are important to me.
And that feeling of being heard and understood.
Yeah.
That's crucial for any relationship to grow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that emphasis on listening is even more important now.
You mean because of all the digital distractions?
Yeah, exactly. Like we're constantly bombarded with information.
You're right. Maybe now more than ever, that ability to truly tune in, be fully present with someone.
Yeah.
It's a rare and precious gift.
So how do we get better at listening then?
Well, beyond putting down our phones,
right,
the book suggests practicing active listening, making eye contact, nodding along, asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you understand.
It's about making sure your friend feels heard.
Exactly. Not like they're talking to a brick wall.
And sometimes the best response is, tell me more.
Yeah.
It shows you're really interested.
Right.
That you want to hear more.
It can make such a difference.
It really can. I've realized how much I value friends who are good listeners.
Oh, yeah, me too.
They're the ones I feel comfortable opening up to.
Right.
The ones who make me feel seen and supported.
And I bet you're a good listener to them too.
Aw, thanks.
It's that back and forth, that understanding and empathy that creates the foundation of a strong friendship.
As we're talking about this, I'm realizing that a lot of these principles, they apply to all kinds of relationships, not just close friendships.
Like with family members, romantic partners.
Even colleagues.
Absolutely. At the heart of any healthy relationship is that willingness to be present, to listen, to show up for each other, to celebrate each other's wins.
And while the dynamics might be different depending on the relationship, those core elements are the same.
Totally.
This deep dive is really making me think about how I approach all my relationships. I'm sure our listeners are having some aha moments too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's what these deep dives are all about, right?
Yeah.
Making us think, sparking new insights, and helping us apply this knowledge to our own lives.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Exploring all the ins and outs of building and nurturing those close bonds.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, there's one more area the book touches on.
Yeah.
that I think is crucial for building a thriving social life.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Tell me more.
And that's the importance of diversifying our social portfolio.
Oh, yeah, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
With that investment analogy.
Exactly.
You wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Definitely not.
Same goes for friendship.
Okay.
Building a diverse network of connections, each fulfilling different needs and roles.
Makes sense.
It creates a more resilient social life. It's like having a garden.
Oh, yeah.
With all sorts of different plants.
Right.
Each one adding its own beauty and strength.
I love that analogy.
But how do we actually diversify our social portfolio?
Good question.
It's not like we can just order a friend variety pack online.
Maybe someday, though.
Right?
But for now, it takes being intentional.
Okay.
And open-minded in how we connect with people.
Okay.
The book suggests exploring different social avenues.
Okay, let's break that down. What are some of those avenues?
Think about the different parts of your life.
Okay.
Work hobbies, your local community. They all offer different chances to connect.
Based on like shared interests, goals, or just being in the same place.
Exactly.
So at work, I could connect with colleagues over lunch.
Yeah.
Or go to office events.
Right.
With hobbies, I could join a book club. Take a pottery class.
Sure.
Volunteer for a cause I care about.
Those are all great examples.
And in my community, I could go to local festivals, check out neighborhood parks. Even chat with people at my favorite coffee shop.
You got it. It's all about recognizing those potential connections are everywhere.
Right.
And being open to them.
This reminds me of what we said about stepping outside our comfort zones.
Totally.
Diversifying our social portfolio probably means doing that too.
For sure. It might mean going to events that aren't usually our thing, talking to people we wouldn't normally approach, or even reconnecting with those weak ties we talked about earlier.
Oh, you mean those acquaintances?
Yeah.
The people we see at the gym or just in passing?
Right.
Who could introduce us to new people and experiences?
Exactly. Those casual connections can sometimes lead to the best surprises.
And friendships.
You never know.
I'm starting to see how this all connects.
Me too.
By being proactive and open-minded and willing to try new things, we open ourselves up to more connections.
It's all about putting yourself out there.
But does that mean we have to be friends with everyone we meet?
That's a great question. And no, definitely not.
Okay, good.
It's not about forcing connections or trying to be everyone's best friend.
So how do we know which connections to invest in?
It's a mix of intuition, shared values, and just enjoying someone's company.
Okay.
When you're genuinely interested in someone, when there's mutual respect and connection, that's when it's worth putting in the effort.
And if it feels forced or draining
Yeah.
or goes against our values, it's okay to let it go.
Absolutely. It's about being selective, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
Just prioritizing those connections that feel right for you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into friendship, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the first step is to just notice those potential connections around you every day.
Right.
Challenge yourself to smile at someone new, chat with a colleague, or reach out to an old friend.
And remember, building those meaningful connections takes time and effort. It's not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
Of nurturing reciprocity and shared experiences.
Be patient with yourself in the process.
Yeah. Not every connection will turn into a lifelong friendship.
Right.
And that's okay.
Each connection offers something.
It does.
A chance to learn, grow, and see the world differently. So embrace those diverse connections.
Yeah.
Celebrate the joy of connecting with others. And remember, no man is an island.
We're all in this together.
And through friendship,
we
can make life richer, more fulfilling, and more meaningful.
Beautifully said.
Thanks.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you feel inspired to nurture your current friendships.
And be open to new ones.
On that note, we'll sign off for today.
Okay.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep connecting, and keep those friendships strong.